Hey guys, welcome to Man Minutes. I'm Tim. We got Mr. Wes with us again today. And Wes, I was telling you earlier today that my parents had been here.
Mm-hmm.
They came and visited yesterday and spent the night and left earlier today. And, it's interesting that my dad, when I was growing up, was a guy that very successful, workaholic. Learned a lot from him, good and bad. But one of the most impactful things I heard my dad say about 15 years ago was he finally got to a point in his life where he understood that he had to dig his fingernails out of everything in his life that he was trying to control, especially his money, and just give it and let go of it so God could do what he wanted to do.
Yes.
And I never saw my dad do that growing up. But then I saw it change.
Right.
And he realized that he had his fingernails and just dug into it and wouldn't let go of it. He wasn't about to give it to a cause, a church, whatever. But then he finally understood the importance of digging his fingernails out and letting go of that. And well, giving is a tough topic to talk about when it comes to men.
Yes.
And of course, that old adage, out there that all the church wants is our money.
I know.
And so, share some thoughts on that talking a little bit about that.
Well, when it comes down to really, just comes down to trust. We men have a hard time trusting sometimes. We have a hard time dealing with control. We think we're, the real deal.
Yeah.
When we don't give God enough credit. And giving, it takes a plan. I never saw it role modeled in my house.
Yeah, me either.
Dad didn't do that, and I'm not, I learned a lot from Dad. Great work ethic, good father, and good husband. But one of those things where I just wasn't role modeled, and it probably wasn't role modeled to him, so it just wasn't passed down. So what happened is when I finally decided to follow Jesus Christ, I had to have a plan. It just doesn't wake up one day and you give all your money away.
Right.
You got to have a plan, and you got to research it. I ran across a story. It's in the Old Testament, let's say in the book of Malachi, and they've come. A couple has come to do the sacrifice back in the Old Testament, and all of a sudden they look at each other and they've left the sacrifice at home.
Be like leaving the checkbook.
Leaving the checkbook at home.
Except back then, this was a little bit bigger.
A little bit different.
Yeah.
You would think they would have
remembered
the lamb, but anyway, they forgot it, and so he said, "Why don't you go back?" No, I'll go back. So the husband goes back, and that probably wasn't easy. It wasn't around the corner. But he had to go back, and he got back there, and he found one that was really, really good. But he said, that thing's too valuable. I could probably sell that. And then he found another one that was almost as good. No, I had planned on, raising that a little bit more and get a little bit more money. Then he found one that wasn't so good. He said, I think this will work.
Kind of the leftover.
Yeah. And I'm concerned with me, and not as much anymore, but I'll still struggle it. I'm not totally there. Nobody's totally there.
Right.
Because you got 9 million people coming for you for money, because there are a lot of needs out there now, and you can't do them all. So you feel guilty and then all whatever like that. So then that trust issue starts building up again, and all of a sudden then the church comes or a good ministry comes, and then you go, well, I don't know. And then you give a little, and I love the widow. The widow who gave, and I really noticed that Jesus was sitting by where they were giving the sacrifices, and the widow came in, and all the people came in that were rich, and they were giving a lot of money, and Jesus was watching them. And the widow came in and just put a couple of coins in, and that was just about all she had. And what I really saw then was that Jesus noticed. Mm-hmm. He didn't notice the big givers.
Yeah, he was watching.
He was watching, and he is watching us on what we give. And, that ought to make, maybe I need to get a plan, because one of these days he's going to ask, and he'll know what you gave of not only your money, but your time, your talents,
right.
You got something going and the Holy Spirit has talked to you, then all of a sudden you're going, he's watching.
Yep.
And it's really, really important. So you don't want to give him just your leftovers.
Right.
That's why I think it's so important to give at the first of the month. Before you make any money, this is what I'm going to give. You give it at the first of the month. You give it from your riches and from your poverty, not from your riches.
Right.
Giving it from your riches, that's no big deal.
Yeah.
But giving it from your poverty, like the widow did, he's noticing because he's sitting there. He did it in the Bible.
And I think the other thing is in the Old Testament they called it a sacrifice.
Yes.
I'm not sure we look at it that way now.
Yeah.
But when you realize he's watching you, and he wants a sacrifice.
Yes.
Doesn't matter the amount.
No, it doesn't.
It's your heart.
Yeah.
A sacrifice that it's the best you could do. Yeah. I mean, it's a true sacrifice.
Yeah, I tell my Timothys a lot of times that when God has asked you to do something and you're uncomfortable, you're in a good place.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Because you need to be uncomfortable. If you're comfortable, then you're not really in a good place. Yeah. Because you're not, and sacrifice, money's one thing, but time is really something. Because, especially I'm retired now, now I can sit back and it's my time. Well, it's not my time. I've still got talents. I've still got, these old guys like me that have pulled it over the side of the road. There ain't no such thing as pulling it over the side of the road. No. We got to still be giving our times and talents and wisdom, mentoring those guys that have got to go through what we're going through.
You may have retired from your vocation.
Yes.
But you don't retire from being a man.
No.
And he's watching what we're doing with what he's given us.
So if you're comfortable out there today, you need to ask yourself a question. Am I paying attention to what he's watching?
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Because he is definitely watching.
He is watching. Yeah. And he's loving you the whole way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's not judging you.
No, he's not judging
Not condemning you.
Yeah.
There's no condemnation.
And he's probably cheering you on.
Absolutely.
You can do this.
Yeah.
But he'll keep nudging you until you do.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, guys. Join us next time for another Man Minutes.